With racketeering at the heart of this case, my first guests tonight know a lot about alleged criminal enterprises built around power, around fear, and exploitation. Michael Franzese is a former captain in New York's Colombo crime family who went on to serve 8 years for racketeering and extortion. Sammy the Bull Gravano is a former underboss of the Gambino family who later testified against John Gotti, by the way. And if you are wondering what retirement looks like for an ex-wise guy, here is Sammy the Bull at age 80, still throwing punches at the gym. Wow. That is impressive. Michael and Sammy, welcome back to the program, to both of you. And Sammy, dang, brother, how many times are you hitting the gym?
Every so often, a couple times a week.
Well, I'm sure that you were scary back in the day. To me, you still look scary today. So let me start here. And actually, Michael, I'm going to give the first one to you. The feds typically stack RICO cases, right? They line up the predicate acts, the underlying acts of crimes, and then they sort of lay them all out by, you know, bringing witness after witness or pieces of evidence out. I want to ask you how damaging you think Bana was on the stand today, talking about being dangled over a 17th-story balcony.
Well, listen, it sounds terrible. Obviously, I'm not in the courtroom evaluating her as she gives her testimony. But look, all of this is adding up. It seems like these witnesses are corroborating one another, the same kind of behavior with all of them. I mean, it's very damaging. You know, I also wanted to mention something. You know, you think it's so out of the ordinary that, you know, he's being charged in racketeering. The only thing out of the ordinary for me is that he's the only defendant. Normally, you have multiple defendants. But remember, they use this against Wall Street. They use it against our ex-president in Georgia. They tried to, you know, they accused him of racketeering. So you give the government a statute, if they can expand upon it, they'll use it in every way that they can. But what's really puzzling here is it seems that most of these witnesses were given immunity. So they might, some of them might be unindicted co-conspirators that would make up the enterprise along with Diddy. It's just that they agreed to cooperate and they're not indicted. I mean, that's my take on it so far.
That's a really good point, Sammy. Jump on that, because Bana was the third person by my count to be given immunity for her testimony. And each of those three that got up there, they all said they did not want to be there. They did not want to be a part of this. They weren't looking to put Diddy away. They just didn't want anything to do with him. Do you think that jurors see that? Do you think they see immunity as something that's really important?
No, I agree with Michael 100%. They all got immunity because they're cooperating. They're all part of the enterprise, and that's exactly what happens. When I cooperated, I was part of the enterprise, and I was cooperating, and nothing that I said could be used against me, and that's exactly what's happening here. Same exact thing. So they're all part of the enterprise.
Do you think that's going to amount to RICO in the jurors' minds? Are they going to see that as racketeering?
No, and I don't think they're going to see anything wrong with her dangling 17 stories off a building. I agree with Michael. I think it's horrible. It's disgusting. But I don't see it as a RICO thing. I mean, he was mad at her. They're not even saying why he was mad at her. Could have been an argument. How is that part of a criminal enterprise?
That's a good point. So, Michael, how about this? When it came time for cross-examination of Bana, I lost count. So did the NewsNation reporters who were in the courtroom taking notes. The number of times she said, "I don't remember." How powerful do you think that is for jurors who start to think, well, maybe your story isn't so strong if you just can't remember conveniently on cross?
Yeah, I think that goes against the witness. But again, you know, I've been following this in the paper every day, and I just think the totality of these witnesses claiming the same type of behavior, they seem to be corroborating one another, and the behavior, at least as it's being brought out, is really kind of horrendous. You know, I mean, I think the most damaging thing that the jurors are going to remember, They saw this video with Cassie, and so they know that he's very capable of this behavior. I think the attorney Garagos had to get up there and say, look, that was a bad act, but it was more of a domestic violence thing. It wasn't RICO. So it's really going to depend on how capable, how competent the summation is by Garagos with the RICO. That's what it's going to come down to. Hey, he did some despicable things, but it's not racketeering. And if he can convince the jury of that, and then they have a shot. Other than that, I think it's a tough case. You know, they were talking a lot about him taking the stand. The only time you take the stand is when you're desperate. Any attorney will tell you, you never take the stand unless, hey, we got a bad case here. You may as well go up there and try to help yourself. Normally, you don't want to take the stand.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Listen, I think we all know by this point that Diddy has a bit of a God complex, and if not a God complex, a king complex, and a hair trigger anger management problem. Sammy, because of that, do you think it is the dumbest idea ever if Diddy took the stand? Because it would be real easy for those feds to get under his skin real fast.
Yeah, I agree. You never take the stand in your case. It's like Michael said, as a last resort, your case is dead. You try to revive it and take the stand, but it would be a bad move. But I don't think he has to do that. I'm becoming more and more. I understand the RICO law. I saw a lot of people it was used against. I don't understand how they're using it in this case. What's the enterprise?
Okay, I'll give you an example. All right, so I'll give you an example. The enterprise is that he's the CEO at the top of Bad Boy Records, and he allegedly uses all of his staff members, his chief of staff, Christina Coram, his bodyguard, D-Rock, and the other bodyguards to carry out a lot of these crimes, like this one is alleged. A hotel worker said he was paid $100,000 in cash in a paper bag to make some video of a felony assault go away, which you could say is obstruction of justice. So there's Diddy allegedly using his staff because they, according to the witness, were involved in the whole setup and planning of this, the non-disclosure agreement he had to sign. Michael, jump in on that. Do you see that as evidence of obstruction of justice, one of the predicate acts to prove RICO?
Yes, but there again, I think the challenge here is the lawyer is going to get up and say, well, where's the racketeering enterprise? An enterprise is one person all of a sudden. I think he's going to have to say that these other people were unindicted co-conspirators, or maybe he won't use that word, but he's going to have to say that these other people helped him carry out this pattern of racketeering that caused all of this stuff. Because to me, it doesn't make sense to have one person, be indicted for RICO and saying that he's the criminal enterprise. Normally, the criminal enterprise is made up of a number of people. Every one of my cases was that way, and I had 3 of them. And every case that I've known, against all of my former associates, there was always a number of people that were part of the enterprise.
Yeah, we still have a couple to go. We haven't heard from D-Rock, and we haven't heard from the chief of staff either, Christina Coram. So that still could be to come. So that means you guys have to come back. Michael Franzese and Sammy the Bull Gravano, thank you both so much for your insight. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, too.
Hey, everybody, you can catch Sammy on his podcast, Our Thing with Sammy the Bull, and Michael on his podcast, Sit Down with Michael Franzese.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.